game in 50 minutes, but we'll see how it goes.
Oh, yeah. No, me too. We usually don't go that long anyway. All right. Well, we are live. Hello again to all the boys and girls out there in YouTube land watching. John and Ellie of Georgia Beer Reviews back at you this fine Sunday with another edition of Stout Sunday. And joining me, as always, is Michael Kormeroff from Brooklyn, New York. Thanks for joining me, Michael.
Always great to be here with you, John.
All right. So what fine stout do you have today?
Okay, Jack's, I was telling you earlier, Jack's Abbey Brewing is a lager brewing company in Massachusetts. And this is out of their ale division. And it's from Springdale is their ale division. And it's called Brigadero. And this is what the can looks like. And it's a breakfast stout at 7.5%. I'm not sure what the IBUs are. Nice, classic kind of silver and black can. Kind of nice. And this is another one of my beers that came out of Stout Fest. They just seem to keep coming.
Hey, nothing wrong with that.
What'd you bring?
All right. Well, I'm looking at the Samuel Adams Cream Stout today. I've never had it. This one is 4.9% alcohol by volume and 28 IBUs. Doesn't really say much on the label other than sweet and roasty. And this one, the best by date is March 2019.
Let's see what mine says on it. Some of these codes on some of these things, I can understand why Greg gets upset at some of these companies because it's hard to understand what they mean. This one was brewed last March 22nd. But I would say a stout like this would be good for a couple of years, even at 7.5%, without any problem. And this is what my pour looks like. Kind of nice.
All right.
Beige head, pretty solid. It's not, and this head, I can just tell you from my experience, this head is not going anywhere. I can see that it's here for the duration. Just the
Our
way,
pours actually look
just the way it's poured.
I also have a beige head, and the appearance is very dark brown. When I hold it up to the light, there are some brown hues around the outer edges of the bottom of the glass. So
mine is similar. Mine might be a little bit more, brown to black, where it's through. I looked at the light, and the light doesn't really come through. So it's pretty. I'd still say it's not jet black, but it's very dark brown in color.
Right. Okay.
Do you want to do yours first?
Yeah, I'll do mine first. We've got Tyler Mansell in the chat. He says this may get more views than Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah.
And he says, a moment we've all been waiting for, Stout Sunday, everybody. And Gabriel is in the chat as well. He says, hello. Hey, Gabriel.
Hi, Gabriel. Hi, Tyler.
All right. So the aroma on mine is very roasty. Some dark roasted barley malt, like not burnt toast, but very darkly toasted bread. A little bit of caramel on the aroma as well, and then a background of dark chocolate, but that's really not the lead aroma. It's more in the background. The roastiness with this one really takes the lead with the aroma. It's very roasty smelling from the that roasted barley malt, and not really smelling any hop presence. I mean, 28 IBUs is relatively low for a stout because you get all those rich flavors and from the roasted barley malt. I'm really not picking up on any of that. It smells roasty, toasty, and pretty good. So, cheers.
Enjoy.
You want to go ahead and describe the aroma on your?
My preliminary thing. As I said before, the head is very lots of lacing and pretty good head retention from what I'm seeing on the side of the glass. And let's give you my. Okay, my nose is similar to yours, except there seems to be a little bit of smokiness in mine. So where you had dark chocolate in the background, mine has kind of like a charred smokiness. in the background, but it also the first stage is kind of like a roasted malt. And that seems to be, that roasted malt front seems to be true in a lot of stouts that we've tried. And it's been in some of the bourbon barrel aged ones as well. But this one is, to begin with, roasted malt. And in the background, you have kind of a smoky char. And it's a background. It's not a lead aroma, but it's there.
And there's definitely a smoky quality to this one too, with, from that darkly roasted barley malt.
You want to take a taste?
Let's do it. Cheers, Michael.
Cheers.
Very, very toasty. Yeah, I mean, no joke, people. This is just roasty, toasty. It's really not sweet. It almost has a little bit of that smoky quality you were describing. The caramel, the slight caramel note that I was picking up on the aroma really isn't following through on the palate. Neither is the chocolate. Well,
so you're getting mostly roasty and
yes, mostly roasty and toasty, and there is a background of dark chocolate actually. That second sip, I got some dark chocolate in the background. It's really not too sweet though. There is a little bit of a hop bitterness on the finish, which I wouldn't necessarily say balances it out because it wasn't really malt forward to begin with. It's more roasty, toasty, smoky. My first thoughts on this beer are really that I would like it to be a little bit more malty, a little bit more sweetness, maybe some caramel sweetness, a little bit of, a little bit more chocolate on the palate. It is good though. The body is pretty light. I mean, 4.9% compared to the stuff that I've been drinking. This is very easy going. The carbonation is light as well. It is a cream stout though. One thing I'll say, it's a cream stout. It doesn't really have a creamy mouthfeel, which I was kind of hoping for. And I think that's because it's so toasty. I think that kind of takes away from, any creamy mouthfeel type qualities that I would have been getting with this beer otherwise. But it is enjoyable and it's very smooth and easy drinking. And it's a little bit more, you might like this one a little bit more than me because it is a little bit more bitter, I guess, because the malt presence isn't there to kind of set it apart for me. But
well, 28 IBUs in a stout is more than 28 IBUs in a brown ale or a black ale or some of the other, darker beer ales that you would try. And I think the reason is the hops that they do use are different. And if it's not perfectly countered, then you're going to get some of that hop bitterness on the back end with it. And
right.
It depends how much you like that hop bitterness. I've tried some stouts that were 70 and 75, which I really liked, but it was because they were able to balance the hops and the malts together. If that's not balanced, sometimes it can be too bitter, and then it's not as good.
Right. And this one's really not that bitter. It just doesn't have enough like caramel and chocolate notes on the front end to really mask the bitterness. So 28 IBUs, maybe a little bit lower, but it's coming through more because there's not any sweetness really initially. So I'll keep sipping on mine. It is good though. And, I'll sit and ponder on it a little bit longer, but why don't you go ahead and break down your beer for us, Michael?
As this sits, and I've been taking a few more sips, this is more intense than I expected. Now, when I say intensity, it's kind of it's an intensity of the stout itself, but it's the combination of the malts and I guess whatever hops they are using together, and what they're for. It's very well balanced and very well put together. But there's a certain intensity which I like, and I think you might like too, because it's not. There is some hop bitterness in it, but whatever hop bitterness is there is countered by the malts. This is more malt forward than the one you're drinking. More stouty.
Yeah.
of the stouts we've been having lately. This is more stouty. Eric gave this, I think, an A- when he did his review of it, and not going to give you a rating yet because I haven't decided, but I'm really enjoying this. It's very good.
All right. Well, let's see what we got going on in the comments here. Gabriel says 11-month-old stout beer, Michael, and then Tyler says great math on display, Gabe. Gabriel says stouts versus porter. Is that are you just making a statement, Gabe? I don't know. I prefer stouts because they have more body, and I love the bourbon barrel-aged stouts, the high-alcohol bourbon barrel-aged stouts. That's just me. I think Michael's probably the same way. I don't know.
I'm the same way. It's funny, though. You take something like this, which is 7.5%, so you really can't even call this an imperial stout. It's on the edge of getting to the point where I usually think of imperial stouts as being over 8, but this is on the edge. This is more than a standard stout. So, and it's telling you to drink it fresh. But I wonder when you have a stout like this, what would they consider fresh? This is from March, which we're talking about 10 months, right? Gabe said 8, but it sounds closer to 10. We're in February. It was early March too, but it doesn't matter. Look, these are this kind of thing with a stout is good for a lot longer than you'd think, and a can protects it from the light too. I'd be more afraid if this was in a clear bottle, even though I've never seen a stout in a clear bottle. So I guess it would always be in a brown bottle or a black bottle. So it would cover it up for sure, so you wouldn't be able to tell. I really do like this, and this, what this has, which is interesting. This is actually creamy. I guess it's a breakfast stout, so maybe a breakfast stout might have creaminess in it. Mine has a creamy mouthfeel. Let me write that down.
So my cream stout doesn't have a creamy mouthfeel, and your non-cream stout does have a creamy mouthfeel.
Now I think mine is more intense than yours, both in the fact that it's 2.5% more alcohol, 2.6. But I think it's more than that because you had stout flavors, but mine is intensely stout.
Right. So let's see. Aldehydes is tuning in. He says, Mikey Kormaroff and Anelli, cheers, broskies. Cheers to you, Aldehydes. Thanks for tuning in. Gabriel says you can do Saturday porters since Sundays are stout. Sure, Gabriel. We'll do a different beer thing for every day of the week. Why not? Let's see. Aldehyde says, John, you sure are drinking? Are you sure you're drinking a stout and not some burnt toast? Nah, well, yeah, you make a good point, Aldehydes. Not the most balanced stout that I've ever had, but it's not bad. I'm enjoying it.
Now, would you say, and this is a question that you and I can answer because we've both had it, that other than the other division that Sam Adams has that has that, what was it called? Midnight? What was the
Samuel
series?
Adams has the Barrel Room Collection. You're talking about the 13th hour stout.
Right. So other than that collection, would you agree that for the most part, most Sam Adams beers are more middle of the road? I'm not saying that they're bad. I'm just saying that they're not world class.
Right. Well, it's kind of like what we were talking about early this morning about the Brooklyn Brewery. I see Sam Adams and Brooklyn Brewery kind of in the same light for the most part. Brooklyn Brewery has some very great limited release stuff that's world class, and so does Sam Adams. But for the most part, for their standard line of products, your 6-packs, your 12-packs, that are around $9.99, $10.99 for a 6-pack on average, they're middle of the road. I mean, that's just what I've come to expect from Sam Adams. And actually, Brooklyn Brewery, I think, does a better job with most of their standard stuff. Some of the Sam Adams stuff, like the Sam 76, for example, is just dull, and you're paying $9, $10 you're paying crappier prices for something that's not even as good as your typical macro beer. So
I agree, and I did buy a mixed 12-pack. And we've made this comment also. You either are going to get the Sam 76 or you're going to get the Boston Lager in every mixed 12-pack they have. And I guess the Boston Lager is much better than the Sam 76, but it's still, I like Brooklyn lager better than Boston lager. But that's maybe a point of, some people might like one, some people might like the other. Have you had both?
I have had both. I don't know. I'd have to do like a side by side. It's been a while since I've had the Brooklyn lager. The Boston lager is just one that always sticks in my mind because that's one of the first crafty beers that I tried. The Brooklyn lager I didn't try until maybe a year or two ago.
The Brooklyn is a Vienna red lager, and I think the Boston lager might just be a standard lager. I'm not sure.
The Brooklyn lager to me seemed a little bit more hop forward. The Boston lager had a little bit more of a malt presence initially, but it did have the bittering finish, but it was more malt forward initially, from my recollection.
I'm with you. I'm with you that Brooklyn is a little bit better than Sam Adams, and they do have that Brooklyn black chocolate stout, and that's in their regular line, and that's world class. So there's one example of something they do make in their regular line that you can buy in 6-packs. I think I gave it a 97. Thought it was tremendous.
Right.
But they don't have a lot like that. That's one, and they may have another one that's better. But some of the, for instance, they have that Sam Adams has that Rebel IPA line. Now, some of it is good, some of it is even very good, but I can even remember one or two that weren't all that good that I tried from their line that were just average. Stuff that I might have given 80s to. I think you gave the Sam 76 a 76. I think I gave it a 79, but I was being generous. So.
Yeah, and I mean the 76. I mean that's pretty much what I would have given it anyway. But of course, I had to give it a 76 because it's the same 76.
You wanted to add some irony to your rating.
But that's exactly what it was. Though. It was just an average beer, middle of the road.
I agree. But I liked, what was the one that I had, which was a macro. Was it a Steel Reserve? Which was the one that I had that my friend gave me?
The Natty Daddy?
Natty Daddy. I think the Natty Daddy was a better beer than the Sam 76.
You gave the Natty Daddy a 79, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm saying I think I may have given the Sam 76 a 78. But I mean, I think the Natty Daddy at least had a lot of the fact it had that extra alcohol in it and it didn't taste horrible. Even though I think I gave it a whole grade lower because it had an off taste, I thought. Now, when you do drink your Steel Reserves and your other malt liquors, do you find any of those that have an off taste? Or you just or that's just a malt liquor taste and you accept it?
For the most part, that's just a malt liquor taste. But there are some that are distinct, and like Mickey's has like that cooked vegetal type thing going on. Earthquake High Gravity is pretty bad. That's like got a weird grape flavor to it. It's really grainy, and it's 10% alcohol, so it's cloyingly sweet.
Do they still make Colt 45? Can you still get Colt 45?
I love Colt 45 is one of the better ones. Colt 45, Old English 800, King Cobra. Obviously, that's probably my favorite. But the standard malt liquors, not your 8, the high gravity stuff, the Natty Daddy 8%, the Steel Reserve 8.1, the Old English high gravity, those are good in their own right, but they're a little too one-dimensional, and the alcohol is not masked well with them at all. And after a few sips, if you're not drinking it ice cold, it can become a chore to try to finish.
Did you ever try the Founders? It's a 4-letter, what they calling a malt liquor, which really to me was
AML. Because it was 14.1.
That's right. It was just over the Georgia limit. We keep coming back to it. And Jean had a good way of describing it when we spoke to Jean. He said a few years ago you couldn't get stuff more than 6% in Alabama, like 8 or 9 years ago. So they've actually come a long way by getting to the same level as Georgia and adjoining states. Yeah. Before you couldn't even get the 8.8% malt liquors, like maybe 10 years ago. I'm not sure exactly when, but Alabama has come up anyway, which is good.
That's true. Yeah. We're getting there, I guess, slowly but surely. I don't know.
Do you have a number on the? Do you have a number on the Sam's Cream Stout?
I do actually. Let's catch up on the comments. We've got a million comments here, and then we'll give our ratings. Let's see, where did I leave off? Gabriel says he's never had the Sam Adams Cream Stout. He wants to try it. I think you'd like it, Gabe. It's not gonna, blow your socks off, but it's a solid stout. I think I'm just getting spoiled with some of these world-class stouts that I've had recently. But for $9.99 a six-pack, you really can't go wrong for a crafty stout. Aldehyde says Johnny loves his IBUs and his beers. Yeah, well, sometimes. Depends on how the balance with the rest of the beer is. Jim Harbin says, greeting, gentlemen. Cheers, Jim. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Hope you're having a great Sunday and getting ready for the Super Bowl, I'm sure. We've got Two Sushi is watching and says, hashtag Psycho Raid. And then Psycho Ghost Tracker says hashtag Psycho Raid. And then Anthony's Haunted Ritual says, so we're getting raided. Apparently this is a thing on YouTube where people from another stream come in and leave a comment from the other channel. I don't know. This is the first time this has happened on my channel. Okay, well, thank you, everybody from the other stream. Thanks for tuning in and showing support. Big Ben is watching, says, hi, everyone. My goodness. Okay, so Two Sushi says she's new here. This is awesome. All right, well, I'm glad you are enjoying it, Two Sushi. R5 Adventures says, hello, everyone. Virginia Fisherman is watching. Jeff Knapp says, happy Stout Sunday, gentlemen. Happy Stout Sunday to you, Jeff. My goodness, I might not even be able to read. Okay. Aldehyde says, Sam Adams, for the most part, is mediocre. They can build a good beer when they want. Unfortunately, most people never drink them due to the price. Yes, I agree 100% with you, Aldehyde. It was $9.99 for the six-pack of the Sam Adams Cream Stout. It's $9.99 for a 22-ounce bottle of the Sam Adams Barrel Room Collection 13th Hour Stout. So one beer for the price of six for their, premium stuff. And Jeff Knapp says, props to Michael's Smutty Nose shirt. He recognizes that shirt.
See, people from the Northeast would know Smutty Nose. It's in New Hampshire. It's an island off the coast, and that's what Smutty Nose is. It's an island off the New Hampshire coast.
Right. And Aldehyde says Earthquake is complete garbage. Ask Ronald Terrio. Yeah, we all know what he thinks about that beer. And Aldehyde says the ABV laws are silly. Yep, we've been talking about this for weeks. It's really frustrating. Gabe says we should try Goose Island Parka Porter at 5.3%. I've seen that before. I've never had it, but I can't get it. I might have to check that out. All right, and Gabriel says he wants me to tell you that there's a Total Wine in New York.
Ask him where it is.
All right, Gabe, where is it? All right, we're finally caught up on the comments. Man, that was a mouthful. Okay, so let's give our ratings here. I'll go first because this is a good stout, but it's not great. It's definitely not excellent. It's kind of on the lower end of the B range for me. I'm going to go with an 83 out of 100. It's good, but it's not anything spectacular. Honestly, Guinness is right there with this one. Guinness might actually be a little bit better, and I think it might be a little cheaper too in my area. Plus, I can buy the big singles of Guinness, so I would probably just go with Guinness next time. It's a little disappointing that it doesn't have the creamy mouthfeel that I was hoping that it would have, and it just really lacks a solid malt backbone. It's just more, it's almost like a rock beer, It's got a smokiness to it, and the that dark toast So if you like smoky beers and really darkly roasted stouts, then this would be one to go for. But for me, it falls a little bit short. So 83 out of 100.
Before I do mine, can you get Guinness Export Stout in your area? It's a 7.5% product that they make. Can you get it?
I can get it. I've actually reviewed it on my channel, and I believe I gave it like a 95. I love that.
Because that's close to world class.
That's an excellent stout, yeah. And you know, that one is very malt forward, and that one's definitely more in my wheelhouse than this one.
Okay, I'm going to give mine a 96. So I consider this world class or approaching world class. I have given 99s before, so this is only 3 points less than that. Again, like Eric will ask, what could they have done to make it better? Probably nothing, because it's a breakfast stout. So they're not trying to, they're not trying to create a new product. It's finely made. It's a craft beer. I really like it. And it does have a little bit of that smokiness in it, but it's well defined with the other tastes that are there. So it's not that like the smokiness dominates. It's a background taste.
Right.
And I would buy, I've never seen this in my area. This came at Stout Fest. So somebody who was there was able to find it. The co-op does handle Jack's Abbey, but I've never seen Springdale ones. But I'll keep looking.
And like you said, it's probably just a very limited release. So it might, already have been dispersed, and you won't see it anymore until
right. And maybe they do it once a year kind of thing, and it's like it was done last spring or right before last spring, and now maybe you'll see it again this year. I don't know. I'll be looking for it. We do handle Jack's Abbey, so they may handle some Springdale things in the food co-op.
Okay, Gabriel says the Total Wine and More is 1001 Main Street, River Edge, New Jersey 07661.
Okay,
well,
so
New Jersey,
it's near where James lives.
Okay.
The famous James with the ringing bells and the jester's hat.
Right.
How else can you describe James?
I don't know. That's a pretty accurate description.
Do you want to go off air so we can continue to discuss?
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to this another edition of Stout Sunday. Really appreciate it. Michael enjoyed his stout a lot more than I enjoyed mine, but both of them are respectable. The Sam Adams Cream Stout might be more of a introductory stout, because it's just not doing it for me after all the big bold stouts that I've had lately. But it's still a good product, and Michael's is world class. So if you can find that one, then definitely check it out. So that'll do it for this live edition of Stout Sunday. Hope everybody enjoys the rest of their weekend, the Super Bowl, family, friends. Be safe, and until next time, everybody.
Go Rams.
Yes, go Rams.